That is the first time she's ever stayed still long enough to do that. Hello. Your breath is so gross. It smells like dog food. It's not your fault. It's your main source of nutrition. Oh yeah, put your butt on the tripod, girl. I always time this so that like my washing machine / dryer is about to take flight in the other room. So if you hear something that sounds like several helicopters in the next room, just my dryer and my washing machine. Hi kids, welcome back to another pizza party. I'm Mrs. Pizza, this beautiful lady. Can they see her snoot? This is Weenie, and this, oh hi, what's going on? This is cheese. This never happens while I'm recording. This is usually what my life is like. There's usually 2 dogs in close proximity to me at all times, and I'm not complaining. This is what I wanted out of life. I'm living the dream. We'll see how long Cheese actually hangs out with us. All right, we are here today to do a recent reads. Why? Because if I wait too long, it's overwhelming, and I like to do this while it's whelming, which is the incorrect usage of that word, but what I'm trying to get across by saying it is short. I want this to be short. I don't want to talk that long, and you don't want to hear me talk that long, and Cheese doesn't want to hang out with me for that long. Or maybe she does. Do you know what the funniest part about this is? This is what Cheese is like 999% of the time. Just right next to me. But if you watched any of my videos, you'd be like, that dog doesn't like you, girl. And I'd be like, you don't understand our dynamic. You don't know our relationship. All right, we're here to talk about books, because I like talking about books, and you're here to listen to me talk about books because hopefully you also like books. I will admit right out of the gate, this is a weird one as far as recent reads go, but I am never really surprised by the variation in books. I'm a conundrum, even to myself. I like a wide variety of topics and genres, and I think this one is a little bit horror heavy. Not really. It's weird, but I'm weird. So honestly, it's on brand. The first book we're going to talk about is Nicked. I actually mentioned this in a vlog, just kind of in passing. I picked this up because on the TikTok, I saw someone be like, do you like medieval horror? Here's some book recommendations for you. And I said, hey, TikTok, quit being so on point. Get out of my head. We're not friends like that. But I do love a medieval horror, and I picked this up. To my surprise, this was not a medieval horror. This is a medieval book. This is a medieval heist book based on an actual true event that happened. This is not horror. Not even a little bit. Not even a tiny bit. This is much more Ocean's 11, but make it medieval heist. So this is the story of a monk who has a dream that Saint Nicholas comes to him, and the people of the church use this interpretation of this dream in order to justify going to another city and stealing the bones of a saint. They hire several mercenaries who this is their job. They are bone stealers. They are collectors of antiquities, I'm sure they would prefer. But in the year 1087, this is an actual thing that happened where the bones of St. Nicholas were stolen from where they resided and taken to a new place. The reason the church wants this is because this is during the time of a plague, and they think if they can get these bones here, it will help with the plague. But also they have financial monetary motives. People like to go to places where saints' bones resides, and they tithe to the churches they take these pilgrimages to. So money makes the world go round. So our monk ends up going on this heist mission to liberate the bones of St. Nicholas from its current residence. This was actually a pretty good time. I enjoyed this. I know it says based on a true story, but it was so long ago. And this is obviously sensationalized on top of that. It's fun, it's funny, it's got a touch of queer. It's good. I liked it. It wasn't a horror book, but I ended up really enjoying it. So if you're looking for something that has a medieval time period, or you just like heist stories, this is definitely worth picking up. The next book I picked up after that was also included in that vlog, and that is The Antidote. This is a magical realism story taking place during the Dust Bowl. I believe this takes place in a fictitious town in Nebraska. It starts on Black Sunday, the historic event where one of the largest dust storms to ever dust storm showed up. It was a complete blackout, and within I believe it was like several months, there was a huge rainstorm that then flooded a local river. So within a short period of time, we have a dust storm and an absolute deluge of rain and flooding. So this was not a great time to be living in the middle of the United States. It has a large cast of characters, all living in this small town, having different points of view and interconnecting with each other at different points in the story to give you the tale of not only what was happening during these horrific, historic, natural events, but also the horrible, messed up things that people were just doing to each other for financial means, because they liked having power over everybody, because racism, because sexism, because America has a storied past of being absolute jerks sometimes. We follow this cast of characters, one of them being a prairie witch, and she is a vault, which is a type of witch that people pay her to come basically whisper secrets in her ears. She will hold on to this secret/memory inside of her. She has no access to it. She doesn't know what she's holding on to for you. And then at some point, if you would like to get this event, this memory, this secret back, you can come retrieve it from the witch. She makes pretty decent money in this small town, keeping all the secrets of all of the locals. But when this great big duster to end all duster hits in the beginning of this book, our prairie witch is suddenly empty. Her vault is depleted of all of its memories and secrets she was keeping. She doesn't know what happened, and she can't let anybody know that she now no longer carries their memories inside of them, because when they come to collect, they're gonna be pissed. I ended up enjoying this one okay. I feel like it went on a little bit too long, even though it touched on a lot of really interesting actual historical things that were happening. There are literally photographs of the historical events that are referenced in this book. So every time you're like, well, that's too awful, that couldn't have actually happened. And then you turn the page and there's an actual picture of it. You're like, that's cute, because the worst stuff that's happening in this book is actually real stuff that actually happened. It was well done. It just, that touch of magic, I think, really saved it for me. I needed that magical realism to keep me going, because otherwise it was just an awful small town full of a cast of characters who were encountering awful people left and right. I didn't hate that I read it. I felt like it went on a little too long, and it's not something I would necessarily pick up usually. So honestly, that makes me glad that I gave it a chance. The next book I picked up after that was The Ballad of the Last Dragon. I picked this one up because it was available on Kindle Unlimited, and it said cozy, fantasy, romance, and those are buzzwords I highly enjoy. I will give you out of the gate my personal opinion. This is not cozy. There are some dark and messed up things that happen in this book that make it absolutely not cozy. Just because you have a manic pixie elf bard for your main character doesn't mean that this is cozy. There is an almost essay that happens. Like, dark, messed up things are happening along the way. Let me back up. This is the story of Syl, is how I'm going to say her nickname, S-Y-L. Syl is a half-elf, I believe it was half-elf, or half fae, I don't know, half magical being. I don't feel the need to look up what she actually was. I'm going to go with half elf. She was a half elf bard, and she has had a hard life, and she is currently in a tavern with these two people that have been very kind to her and given her a roof over her head in order to survive, when a group of mercenary-ish, a band of travelers come in, and their patron is a dashing knight who is off to find his great fame and adventure. He's wanting to have a big fantasy, historic, for the ages type adventure, and Syl throws her lot in with these people because she wants some adventure too, and she convinces them to take her along, because how are they supposed to get famous if nobody's writing songs about what they did along the way? So she ends up going on this adventure, and she gets along with everybody out of the gate except for like the super grumpy one. They like hate each other, or maybe they want to make out. I don't know. So we have our big grumpy mercenary guy who's all scarred up and dark and brooding, and then we have our manic pixie bard who's just like flippity-dee and around it all the time. She was a little bit infuriating with how kind of flippant she was about everything, but that was her character. I can get over it. What I can't get over is how fast we went from I hate you to put your hand down my pants in this story, because I know that there was supposed to be tension, but like I didn't feel like the tension ramped up correctly. We went from maybe I think he's hot to whoa, let's do this way too fast. Way too fast for us to call this, like, for you to like dislike someone and then immediately want to get naked with them. Come on, you got to give me more. I got to believe it. I got to believe the tension. I also felt like the third act conflict in this kind of came out of nowhere. And even though I liked how it was resolved, I was really, really surprised. Oh, good Lord, that's our conflict for the third act? Jeez. This was fine. I'm not going to give this like all the thumbs up and the stars. I think I ended up giving this 2.5 stars overall because 2 felt too low and 3 felt too generous. So I ended up right in the middle of it. I think I was more disappointed in the fact that it wasn't cozy and it was not an insta lust, but like almost slightly disappointing. The next book I picked up after that was Night Shoot. I picked this up because I had recently read the Haar from this author and absolutely enjoyed the heck out of it. And so I was looking for more from this author. I am still going to continue reading from this author, but Night Shoot was just fine. I think I ended up giving it 3 stars. This is the story of a group of film students who, for their final project, they go to this secluded home that one of the members of their group is like related to the person that owns it, and they are told that they need to be out of this house by sundown. The person that lives in the house is shady and mysterious. The person that's related to the person that lives in the house is an asshole. Then this group of people are trying to film a horror movie in this short period of time. You guessed it, they bend and break the rules and end up staying longer than they should, and carnage ensues. I think this was fine. I think it was very gory. I feel like I've seen this in a scary movie format before, but I can't pick out which one. Maybe because it's like an amalgamation of several I've seen before. And I liked, for the most part, how everything wrapped up. But it's just kind of a gory slasher in a giant manor, secluded, with a bunch of people that you don't really like any of them. You don't like really any of the people in this group. So you're ready for them all to get their heads lopped off. The next book I picked up after that was A Head Full of Ghosts. I also read this in that reading vlog that I keep referring to. This was me giving Paul Tremblay another try. This is the book that everybody says is their favorite by that author. No, I think I had read 2 previous works from this author. I wasn't wowed. They were totally fine. I didn't hate them. But this is where everyone is like, if you're going to like any of this author's books, this is the one. And then they like slide it to you, you know, on the down low. Perhaps in an alley, they like open a trench coat and hand you this book. And they're like, try this one out. I don't know. My brain is a strange place, okay? This ends up being the story of a young woman who is recounting a story that happened to her family years prior. In the opening of this book, she's being interviewed, having to do with a reality TV show that has become infamous that her family participated in. See, this character, when she was, I believe, like 7 or 8 years old, very young, her older sister started exhibiting very strange behavior. One parent, the father, who had recently become religious yet again, reinvigorated his religion. How would you put that? Like, he wasn't that religious and he kind of like is now getting really religious. I don't know. You tell me. How are you supposed to describe that? Somebody who used to go to church, kind of didn't go to church anymore, and now suddenly they're like really into church. Anyways, dad thinks this is some sort of demonic possession that's happening. And the mother seems to think this is some sort of psychological medical issue that is happening. The mother has gone the route of having the daughter see lots and lots of doctors. The father has brought in a priest. So this family is already in financial hard times. The father hasn't had a job for over a year, and they get offered the chance to have this reality TV show about their daughter being possessed by a demon come film them. We then watch this unfold. I will say, as with the other Paul Tremblay books I've read, this is a little bit ambiguous. You can believe whatever you want to believe is happening, and that could be true and proven true by facts that are happening within this book. If you don't like ambiguity, if you don't like having to draw your own conclusions, this is not the book for you. That being said, I really liked this. I liked how we were teetering back and forth between, is this some sort of mental instability or illness, or is this someone possessed by a demon, or is this someone wanting to pretend to be possessed by a demon? In this world of this book, media containing demon possession, such as The Exorcist and things like that, exist. And so there are tropes that are talked about, but yet when certain things happen, they are so wholly original to what's going on and absolutely creepy as hell. I also liked that our narrator, our point of view, is a young child, and so they are aware that as an adult that they might not have been the most reliable of narrators as a kid. They weren't aware of all the circumstance. They didn't have all of the information. They were a kid watching all this go down as their family completely crumbles. The end of this book will gut you. It is really, really sad. And I would say this is definitely my favorite of all of this author's books so far. I really did enjoy A Head Full of Ghosts. The next book we're going to talk about, I debated whether or not to talk about it at all, but If I go past the 50% mark, even if it's a DNF, I feel like it should count. I read a lot of pages. Let's talk about it. Bury Your Bones in the Midnight Soil. I made it to the 75% mark of this book before I finally gave up. I also read it in a vlog. Apparently I was vlogging a lot during this period of time. This was marketed as a sapphic, toxic vampire story that travels with these vampires throughout centuries. And even though that's technically true, I thought that would be something I would really enjoy, and I ended up really just being bored with this. I don't think this was a bad book, and I don't even think it was written poorly. I've enjoyed things from this author before. I just found this not engaging. We spend a lot of time with our first character we meet, who is Maria. When we start off, she is a young woman who is using all of the tools in her arsenal to be cunning and wily and marry herself off to somebody wealthy in order to get the life that she desires. She meets a mysterious character along the way, and then lo and behold, woman becomes a vampire. We then follow her through centuries as she kind of learns about being a vampire and how her personality as being someone who has always been told what to do, even though she wanted to be free to make her own choices. She's cunning, she's smart, she's a little bit malicious. We are then also getting the point of view of Alice, I believe was her name, and she is a more current, I believe it's like happening in 2019, young woman in college who meets a beautiful and mysterious woman at a college party and then, oops, becomes a vampire. Honestly, anytime somebody beautiful and mysterious showed up in someone's life, I was clocking it as like, yep, that's the vampire. I just found all of these stories boring. I was bored. I didn't really care about anybody. I've heard a lot of people say Maria was their favorite of the 3 stories that are introduced. I didn't. I felt like we were spending a lot of the time with these characters, but glossing over the really interesting stuff. And I just ended up making it to 75% of the way before I finally said, why are you doing this to yourself? There are so many good books out there, and you are wasting your time reading something that you're just not into. I am very disappointed I didn't like this. If you loved it, I am so happy for you. Honestly, I'm jealous. And I wish I liked it as much as you did. I go out with the intention of loving every single book I read. I unfortunately DNF'd it. And the next book we're going to talk about is a book I picked up. I actually talked about this when I talked about short horror and spooky books for the spooky season. I had previously gone out trying to read a book called Shy Girl, which has been pulled from shelves because it was first originally published and now is going to be traditionally published. Hopefully soon, because the only copy I can find is like $200, and I'm not spending $200 on this book. That is ludicrous. I refuse. I can be patient and wait for it to come out again. I then went to look and see if this author had written anything else, and I found a novella available on Kindle Unlimited that is called We All Rot Eventually, and this is a Y2K coded, absolutely gory horror novella. And I had a great time with this. This is the story of Alexa, and she is living in LA in 2005, and she is so hungry for fame. She wants to be an actress. She wants to be famous. She's going to make it. And we follow this character through an absolutely gore, carnage-filled fest as she becomes famous. But at the end of this story, we get not so much a twist as a revelation that makes all of the absolute violence that we've witnessed make a lot more sense. This I would put as like a comp title. If you liked Victorian Psycho, but you were like, wow, I wish it took place in the early 2000s and had a lot more glitter and flip phones, then I think this novella will be something like right up your alley. This is gory and wild, and I had a fun time watching this just escalate into a revelation that makes you go, oh, well, that's what was happening the whole time. And I can't wait to pick up Shy Girl whenever the heck it comes out. Not paying $200 for it. But that, kids, is where we are going to end this most recent reads. It was a weird list, right? A little bit of everything. Or a little bit of the same thing and nothing. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why I read what I read, but I enjoy the time I have reading, you know? But if you had fun hanging out with me and the dogs and Cheese, who stayed right here the whole time, is she setting a new precedent? Will you sit with us more often? Please subscribe. I hope you're reading good books out there, wherever you are, and I'd love to hear about them, especially since it's spooky season. What spooky books are you reading? Tell me all about it, and I'll see you next time.